Here I am again doing another live video. We're going to be doing our clay garden gnomes tonight. This was a kit that you could buy through the studio with all your supplies, and we're going to build them, and then you're going to let them dry out and bring them back to the studio in 2 weeks, and we'll fire them to bisque. And then you're going to paint them, and then we'll refire them, and you'll have your clay gnomes. So just waiting for everybody to jump on here. And we have a couple more classes coming up. Oh, hi. Don't know who just jumped on, but hello. We have a couple more live video classes coming up, and we're also going to do another freebie for the kids maybe next week or the week after. So just waiting for some of our class people to get on board here. Oh, there's another one. Who's here? Type a comment. Let me know who's here. I'm going to give it a couple minutes. For those of you who are on, in your kit, you had a plastic cup. You're going to want to go get some water. I also suggested that you have a key card or a credit card, something with a flat edge. So if you don't have that, you may want to get that. You may or may not want a rolling pin. I don't think you need it, but if you want a rolling pin, you can go grab a rolling pin too. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes. For anybody who, oh, there's Chelsea and Judy. Hi. For anybody who just jumped on, in your kit was a glass. You want to go put some water in that. You want a flat edge, like a credit card or a key card from a hotel. And if you want, you can also grab a rolling pin, but you really don't need that. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to go get that stuff. When you have it, throw some thumbs up or some hearts or something up there and let me know that you guys are all set. Sorry about the crickets. I keep doing this from our spare bedroom, and our spare bedroom is where our geckos live, and we fed them the other day, so they have crickets in their cages, and so you're going to hear crickets chirping in the background. All right, so we're gonna get started here momentarily. So we're gonna make our gnome, and then you're gonna keep it at home for about 2 weeks, let it dry out. When it's dry, it can be fragile. So you don't want to like grab it by the hat or anything like that. And then bring it back to the studio. We'll fire it the first time. It'll become bisque. And then you can grab some paints if we're still in this situation, which I think we will be, and paint it and then bring it back. And then we'll fire it again and it'll be all ready to go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna move these guys because I know that I'm inevitably going to, don't you love this guy? Look, he's got feet instead of shoes. I think he's so adorable. Okay, I'm gonna move these guys, get them out of my way. Okay, so in your kit, we lost a bunch of people. Okay, in your kit, you should have had a piece of foam. We're going to work on that so that the clay doesn't stick. A big chunk of clay, a slab of clay, which I forgot mine and had to drive back to the studio to get. A skewer, a paintbrush, a couple of cookie cutters, which I do request that you return these to us. It's the only thing you got to get back to us. and a pattern, okay? All right, so I'm going to explain probably the most important thing about working with clay, and you don't have to do this, I just want to show you guys something, okay? So when you're trying to get clay to stick to itself, if you just shove it together, it's not going to stay stuck, okay? So to get it to stick, we have to do what we call slipping and scoring, and this is what we're going to end up doing every time we want two pieces of clay to adhere to each other, okay? I'm just trying to see if I'm missing any comments here. Okay, so anytime we want two pieces of clay to stick together, we're going to take the skewer and we're going to draw little hash marks. Okay. Oh, I make a lot of funny noises while I'm working with clay, so you're just going to have to live with it. All right, and then the piece that we want to attach, we're going to make little hash marks, and then we're going to take a brush and the water, and we're going to get both of those areas really, really wet. Okay, and I picked these brushes on purpose because they're kind of they have kind of stiff bristles, and they do really good at mucking up the clay. Okay, so you take both areas and you get them nice and wet. Okay, and then when you stick the two pieces together and you give them a little smoosh, now, all right, you give them a little smush, they're going to stick together. Okay, that's like the glue, like I'm ripping pieces off rather than it pulling apart where I was. So so that is, hi Jackie, how are you? I miss you, honey. I hope you guys are doing good out there out in Vegas. Jackie is my mentor, and I haven't seen her in a long time because we were supposed to be at a Cerama Jam together before all this happened. So I miss her. I haven't seen her in a while. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of clay and you're going to turn it into a meatball. And you don't want to overwork your clay. You don't want it to start getting dry because then it'll crack and it'll do all kinds of things. Yes, we definitely have to chat soon, Jackie. So all you're trying to do is basically turn it into a meatball, okay? Okay, so once, this is a lot of clay, I probably didn't need all this clay. Once you have it turned into a meatball, I want you to take your thumb and push your thumb down into the middle of the meatball. You don't want to go all the way through, okay? But you basically want to create a hole, okay? All right, now you're going to, with your thumb inside and these two fingers quacking like a duck, you are going to start smushing the edge. And what you're trying to do is anybody ever make pinch pots when they were in school? You're basically making the body and you're trying to make a pot. Now, the one thing that we want to do is this pattern that I gave you, you don't want your pot, I have a really hard time with the camera being backwards. You don't want your pot bigger than that hole, than that circle in the center. It could be tall, but we don't want it wider than that, okay? So that our hat fits. And thickness wise, anywhere between an Oreo and your thumb. You don't want it any thicker than your thumb, okay? So we're going to test it, and if it's too big, you kind of squish it in and up, okay? So that it fits inside that circle, okay? So and you try and get those walls fairly even. They don't have to be perfect because this is actually going to end up, oh, my nose itches. This is actually going to end up inside, so this is going to give, this is going to help everything stand up. Okay, so this is sort of like his body. All right, so mine fits inside my circle. Is everybody at that point? You got your stuff fitting inside your circle? And then what you're going to do, just to try and flatten out the bottom a little bit, is you're just going to, on that piece of foam that I gave you, because the clay won't stick to the foam, you're just going to go boop, boop, just drop it a couple times, and that's going to flatten that edge, okay? That way it sits nice and flat. All right. So hopefully everybody is at that point. So we have sort of a mound, right, with an open bottom that we have flattened out and that fits within my circle. All right. So then we're just gonna, with a wet finger, just smooth out any cracks or anything like that. You don't want it super wet, but we're just sort of smoothing it out just a little bit, okay? And like I say, it's not super important because this is going to end up being covered entirely as we go along. All right, so once that is done, we're going to put that aside for a minute. Now I want you to grab your slab of clay that I gave you. And my clay is a little on the stiff side because I had this rolled out for my staff so that they knew how big of a piece to, oh, bye Jackie, so that they knew how big of a piece to give you. But you can, oops, take the plastic off of it, okay, put it back down. All right. And this is where that card comes in. We want to just smooth that out if it has any impressions in it from the plastic or anything like that. And I'm just using the edge and just sort of flattening it out, okay? I had flattened out the pieces for you before we sent them off, but just in case it's got any kind of imperfections in it, okay? All right. Now, what we're going to do, this is going to be our hat, okay? So that triangle, you are going to find sort of the best area of how that fits. All right, like that. And you're going to take your skewer and you're going to trace over that triangle. So that it puts an impression in the clay so that you know where to sort of cut. Okay, and if you pull that off, hopefully you guys could see it. See the impression I left in the clay? Okay. So then you're going to take the pointy part of your clay, pointy part of your skewer, and you're going to cut that out. And you want to save all that extra clay because that's what we're going to make his nose out of and his feet and all of the little decorations and all that stuff. So cut that out. And then all those extra pieces of clay, I'm just going to move aside. Okay. Okay. So what you should end up with is something that looks like an oversized pizza slice. Now, I want you to bring your body back, and I want you to see if you can get the clay to wrap all the way around your body and overlap, okay? Now, mine doesn't quite. If you have a rolling pin, you can roll it out a little bit. The other trick you can do, which I don't know how well it's going to work on this table, is you can actually just slap the clay a little bit and then flip it over and slap the clay a little bit. And what that's going to do, believe it or not, oh, my water, is it's going to stretch the clay. So now when I do it, now it overlaps, right? So now it overlaps. So before I do anything else, I am again gonna, with my fingers, just smooth out those sides just a little bit. all the way around where I cut it. Okay. All right. Now, this is the trickiest part of the whole thing. Okay. This takes a little bit of patience, and it takes a little bit of manipulating. So I'm going to put my my body back on my piece of foam there. All right. Now, what we need to do, let me try to explain it first, okay? First thing I'm going to do is on one side here, I'm going to scratch because I'm going to attach the clay there. Okay. Okay. So I scratched this side of my clay. Now, if I roll this around on the back side, because these two are going to overlap, right? So I just did this side. So on the back side of the other one, of the other length of the triangle, I'm going to scratch. Okay, Chelsea, I will hold on a second. You're still rolling. Gotcha. Throw up a thumbs up when you're good. So for the rest of you, okay, so now I have this side that is scratched, and I have this side that's scratched, right? So they're opposites of each other. Okay. Chelsea, do you have yours cut out? Are you all good? Thumbs up, maybe? Great. I'm going to guess that Chelsea's, all right, there we go, good. Okay, all right. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to, and like I said, this is probably the hardest part, okay? So I'm going to, I have this, hopefully you can see, all the way down to the bottom, right? It's touching the very bottom. Oh, whoops, nope, sorry. Hang on a second. We also need to scratch the very bottom of the whole pot part. Okay. So we need to scratch that. And we need to scratch the bottom that's going to, the bottom half of the triangle on the side that's going to go up against the other clay. Okay, so one side of your triangle should have scratches down the side and across the bottom, and the other side should have scratches on the opposite side. Okay, so, and then your body should have scratches all around the edge. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with my paintbrush and my water, I'm going to wet that whole bottom edge. And you really want to get it kind of sloppy and wet, okay? This is playing with clay is not a neat endeavor, okay? So we want to get that bottom edge all wet, and then I want to get that bottom edge of the triangle all wet, okay? We want it nice and sloppy. Okay, now I can proceed. All right, so now I am going to wrap that edge around. Okay, so it's all the way down, touching all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to overlap, and I'm going to start zipping this up. I'm trying to pull this back far enough so you can see. So as I go up, I'm gonna wet the two sides and I'm gonna smush them together. Okay. And then, all right, I gotta stand up to do this to kind of show you. So then I'm gonna squeeze in and I'm gonna wet and I'm gonna smush. Okay. And then I'm gonna squeeze in and I'm gonna wet and I'm gonna smush. And before it gets too thin that I can't get my finger in there, I'm putting my fingers on the inside to add some outward pressure, and I'm really sort of mushing that seam away, okay? Like that. And then I'm gonna go up a little bit further. And I'm gonna wet, stick my fingers in there, and smush it together, okay? Keep going. Squish it together. So you see what we're doing? We're creating his hat, right? So the inside of the hat is actually hollow, and we need that to be that way. And so you're just going to keep doing this all the way up the top. Stick your finger in, smush it together. Pull it together some more. Wet both sides. Smush it together. Okay, now I think I can sit down again. Okay, get your finger in there. I have to make it, I'm going to make it face me for a second so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay, keep going. And see, now that I'm towards the top, I'm sort of smushing that whole piece in. Whoops, smushing that whole piece in. And I'm going to wet it. And try and smush it together. Okay. All right. So, like I said, I had this piece of clay laying out for quite a while because it was my sample piece of clay so that my staff could see how big of a piece to get for you. And what you can see is, because it was dry, starting to dry, that I'm getting these little cracks in it, right? Can you see that? Okay. So what I'm going to do, again, is I'm going to add a little bit of water and try and smooth those cracks out a little bit. Okay. All right. So, probably should have told you to get some paper towels too, or something. Okay. Okay. So, at this point, we should have the two pieces inside, right? The piece that we did first and the hat all the way around. And it should be zipped up, and that part's going to be a little flat. That's going to be the back. So you don't have to worry about that unless you're super, super particular. But what I want you to do at this point is sort of hold it like this, and I want you to really squish these two pieces together, okay? So where I have that seam, I'm really trying to kind of squeeze the two pieces of clay together so that they're really attached to each other, okay? And then I'm gonna pop it down again a little bit to try and make sure that it's flat again, okay? All right. And this is also where if you want to like bend his hat or manipulate his hat, again, with wet hands, okay, and slow sort of motion, you can start to manipulate the hat in different directions. You can bend it, you can scrunch it, right? So, okay. So I kind of want to, let's see, I want that to curl forward a little bit. All right. So the seam is towards me. This is going to be his front. Okay. So, everybody good at this point? Do we have the hats on? Let me know if you have your hat on. Oops. Okay. All right. So once the hat is on, now, oops, hang on. I don't want to pick this guy up with two dirty hands. Okay. So now what we want to do is decide where his face is going to be. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my pointy end of my skewer, and I am going to draw myself a bit, whoops, a bit of an arch. Okay. And that's where his beard is going to be for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add texture so that it looks like a beard. Now, the other thing you can do, if you have patience, which I don't, is you can take little pieces of your extra clay, okay, and you can either actually, you know, attach full little things like that, or you can make little rings, and you would have to score and slip, but if you wanted him to have a curly beard, okay, you can do that. I may do that, but I'm going to show you what to do to get the beard. So all you're going to do is take your skewer and just start adding some texture like this. Okay, so I'm doing like tiny little strokes until I get what looks like a beard. Okay. And I'm going to fill that whole space with those tiny little strokes. Oops. Okay. See how I created the texture of his beard? Kind of cute. Okay. All right. So you're going to do that. You're going to create the beard. Now, at the same time, what I want you to do, since you're holding him anyway, most likely, is on the inside, either on the bottom edge where we made it flat, or on the inside edge here, I want you to write your name. Okay. Or his name, or no, write your name. But I know that this one's mine. What should I call him? My little one that I made for the kids, I called Tiny. Pablo. I don't know why Pablo works for me, but we're going to call him Pablo. So I have scraped his name in there, but that should be your name or your initials, okay? And the other thing that you are going to do at this point is you're going to take a finger and you are going to poke a hole like that, Okay, right up through the whole thing into the hat. That's going to let the air that's in the hat. Hi, sweetie. My niece just signed on. I haven't seen you in forever. Hope everything's going all right down there. I know it's a little crazy down in the Jersey, New York area. Cousin Nick's not doing great, huh? Okay. So now we have his beard. We have his hat. We poked a hole in the bottom. We put a name on it. Now we need to decide where his, now we need to make his nose. Okay, so you're going to take some of that extra clay that you had. Hi, honey. And you are going to, my clay is really dry. You're going to take some of that extra clay you had and you're going to roll it into a ball, okay, to make his nose. You can roll yourself a ball. If you want his nose to be long, maybe I want his nose to be long. All my other guys' noses have been like kind of square. So maybe I'm going to give him a long nose. And I'm going to pinch one end a little bit, make a flat side like that. And this is where I'm going to attach it. So again, I'm going to scratch it all up, right? And then let's see where the middle of his face is, which we're already sort of scratched up there, right? So I'm going to wet his nose. And I'm going to wet what would be the middle of his face. And I'm going to give a good smush. Really get that nose attached. Okay, so there's his nose. Okay, get his nose nice and attached. All right. And I think I might give this guy a wee bit of a mustache. I don't have any that have mustaches yet. So I think I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of clay. Oops. That are sort of, oh, that one's much larger. That would just look very funny. And now I think it's too small. All right, I'm just having issues. All right, hang on. So, okay. So I have two pieces of clay, and I'm going to smooth those out a little where I cut them. And again, I'm going to sort of flatten one end. I'm going to flatten the wide end. I'm going to smooth those out. Flatten the wide end a little. Okay. And then I have to, again, scratch the back side, the part that has to be attached. And I have to wet it really well. And then I have to attach it. Okay. That. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other piece. I'm going to scratch it. And I'm going to wet it. And I'm going to attach it to this side of his face. This. All right, I'm going to spin him around so I can see if it's even remotely even, which it's not particularly. There we go. A little bit better. And I think I might put a little texture on those again. So, right, because his mustache is also made of hair. So we want it to look that way. And we're going to do these. Okay. All right. So now my little dude has got a mustache. And so really the rest of this has a lot to do with decorating. So if you look on my guys, they have like a hat band, right? And they have decorations on their hats. We're going to come back to the feet in a minute. So hat band, decorations on the hat. So with all this spare clay that you have is what you're going to make all your decorations out of and things like that. So if you want to put a hat band, you can cut a piece of that clay and decide where it would fall. Like that. Okay, and then once you figure out how much of it you need, you can, and this was where I said, like, if you had some fun stuff to use for texture, I should have brought some stuff. If you have lace or you have the backside of buttons, do I have anything in here that's fun? Hang on, let me, I'm probably gonna stand up for a second. I'm gonna go see what I can find real quick. Hang on. Still rolling, but I lost the video feed. Okay, so sorry. So this was what I was saying about, like, if you have some fun stuff to make texture with, lace or rollers, you know, stamps, anything like that. I was kind of lame. The only thing I could find in the other room was some staples, believe it or not. But what I'm going to do, let's see if I can back this up. All right. There we go. Oh, that's better. Okay, you really can't see me a whole lot, but you can see the clay, so that's good. All right. So, you know, this, woo! All right, nope, I just like totally cut it in half with that. Let me try again. So literally the only thing I could find on the fly was some staples. But what I can do with the staples is I can put some horizontal slash marks in what's going to be my hat band, right? So this was going to be my hat band. So I'm going to decorate the hat band before I actually attach it. And let's see, I have this wooden dowel here, so maybe I'll also push little designs in each little section that I did. So this is where you can just, you know, start having fun and be creative with it. So then once I have my hat band all decorated, see, and I didn't like it, there was not a lot there. So then again, I'm going to slash, 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 and I'm going to wet the whole thing. Right, and I'm going to slash, 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 where I'm going to attach it. Like that. And I'm going to wet that part. And then I'm going to attach, oops, my hat band like that. And nope, I need to slide it over just a little bit. All right. And I'm going to give a little squish to make sure it's stuck. And I'm going to cut off any extra that's hanging off the bottom. There we go. Hey, Sandra. See, I told you can teach this class live. All right. So he's looking pretty good so far. All right. So let's see. How about we give him some feet or shoes. So I'm gonna give this guy shoes, or give him shoes, not feet like the white one that I showed you. So again, I'm going to, with some of my extra clay, I'm gonna roll a couple of balls and try and get them. Those are not the same size. Gonna roll a couple balls, try and get them about the same size. And I'm gonna pinch one end so that it's sort of teardroppy shape, right? And do that on both ends, or on both shoes rather, so that they're teardrop shape. And that is so that I can attach, so that I have a flat spot to attach. So then I'm going to decide where I'm going to attach his feet. And I'm going to, again, scrape where I'm going to attach them. And I'm going to scrape on the feet where I'm going to attach them. And I'm going to wet them. Wet it, wet it. Oops. I'm going to wet the bottom here where I scratched it. And then I'm going to kind of wiggle the feet on like that. Wiggle the feet on like that. Now, if a part's going to fall off, it's going to be the feet. So you really want to kind of try to smush them on there pretty good, okay? Because, like I said, if something's going to fall off, it's going to be the feet. All right, so that's that so far. Now, the last part is just decorating. If you want to decorate his hat or anything like that, if you want to use the cookie cutters that I gave you. I don't know that I'm going to, normally I put stuff on his hat, but I don't think I'm going to. But, you know, if you wanted to, you would just cut your shape out. You would scratch, 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 scratch where you want to put it, and then just attach it. You know what I might do? I don't have any that have a patch. So I think I might put a patch on his hat. So I'm going to cut off a little square. I'm actually going to thin this out a little bit and make it a little ragtagish. There we go. Make it a little not so perfect, right? So that it looks like it's a patch. And I think I'm going to fray the edges a little bit. So that it looks like a patch. All right. So now it looks like a little patch. Okay. And I'm going to decide where that's going to go. Maybe off to the side here. So I'm going to scratch the back because this is the most important part about getting anything to attach, is that you scratch both surfaces and then you wet both surfaces. Right? So we're going to scratch, we're going to wet. Really wet it up there, especially since this piece of clay that I'm using for the patch is kind of dry. So I definitely want it to get stuck on there. I'm going to give it a good push. And there you go. Now he's got a patch. Right. Right. Now he's got a mustache, and he's got a patch on his hat, and he's got some feet. And I think this is all I'm going to do with my guy. I might like just at that edge of the of his hat band, just with a little water in my finger, try and make sure that that seal is really nicely sealed. Okay, like that. Okay, there we go. All right, so how's everybody doing? Any questions? Are we all doing pretty well? Because, you know, once you get all your decorations on, like I said, and make sure that you have that hole punched inside, then you're going to take him and you're just going to put him someplace safe that the cat's not going to knock it over, or the 3-year-old isn't going to come over and squish it, and just let it sit for 2 weeks. And it's going to dry out. It's actually going to get lighter because all that water is going to evaporate out of it, and you're going to see it start to turn white or pale. And then once it's all dried out, you're going to bring it back to the studio, and we're going to fire it up for you, and then it'll be ready to paint. All right. So I'll sit here for a couple minutes in case anybody has any questions before signing off. And, you know, just keep working them. And then the rest of this clay, you know, if you want to make him little accessories or what, excuse me, or whatever, you know, have fun. And how's everybody doing? Let's see. Make sure that when you're done, snap a picture of your guy and add it to the post, because I'd love to see what they look like. Okay, when they're all finished. But any questions before I sign off? Everybody good? Give me some thumbs up, some hearts. Let me know it's all good, and that you all got what you need. All right. All right. So I'm gonna sign off. Before I do, I will mention, because, you know, I'm just gonna plug. So tomorrow night we're doing the flower plate. So you still have time to buy your kit for that if you want to do that. Next week, what did I post? Oh, next week we have the garden stakes. If you liked working in clay, we have the garden stakes next week. And then we're going to post another free project for the kiddos. They seem to really enjoy doing the small clay gnomes that we did. And so we're going to do another little free project for the kids, because the community has been really wonderful to us, and we just want to let everybody know that we appreciate it. All right, that's it. I'm going to sign off. Make sure that you guys post some pictures when you're done, because I'd really love to see how they look. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.